And well, I'm Frederic Llordachs. I was one of the co-founders of Doctoralia. And if probably I was wondering how many of all the startups that we have around here are looking for money in one moment or another. No, so I probably most of them. Raise your hands. I'm looking for money for my investment. All the guys, everybody, mostly everybody. So now we are here in this panel. With probably in the healthcare arena, this is still more dramatic than in many other industries for all the regulatory issues that we must face, for all the how resilient are doctors or reluctant to make changes and what things they do. So we are here to learn from two successful companies that really have been able to raise money to make these dreams reality, and from somebody that really can put some light from the side of the money, so from the banking, from the investment. And let's I'm nobody to introduce them because they can introduce for themselves, but I will start with Anna Maiques, that really is somebody. What have you done to be here, Anna? You probably know her, but anyway.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know. It's a pleasure to be here, Frederic. So. Yeah, I'm Anna Maiques. I'm the CEO and founder of Neuroelectrics. For those that don't know me, you will recognize me now.
The woman of the helmet.
So now you recognize me, right? So I'm Anna Maiques. I'm the CEO and founder of Neuroelectrics, that we have developed, made in Barcelona, this technology that can monitor your brain. So this is right now my brain in real time, while I'm talking to you. And this is the electrical activity on my brain. But this brain, these electrodes that I'm wearing right now can not only read your brain, but we can inject currents into the brain. And at the company, we have demonstrated that this can help in the cure of pathologies like epilepsy, to reduce seizures, in depression, or in Alzheimer's. And we are doing this home. So as you can see, this is portable, so I can do brain home therapy, which is pretty awesome. So what have I done to be here? I just closed a few months ago my Series A, $18 million with American investors, because I moved to...
An applause. 80 million. Not bad, not bad.
But honestly, it was super hard. I was in Boston, in I think the most competitive place on earth for life sciences, coming from Barcelona. So there are a lot of lessons learned of landing in a new ecosystem and getting fundraising there that I can share with you during the panel. Thank you, Frederic.
I'm sure. And let's see what Tania can tell her about her company.
Okay, thank you, Frederic. So I joined Psious 2 years ago. For those who don't know, Psious is the virtual reality platform, the leading platform, I would say, for mental professionals. So our customers are mainly psychologists and other mental professionals that use and customize the platform with more than 70 environments for conditions such as anxiety, depression, and other conditions, okay? So for you to understand it better, the better example is, for example, a phobia, okay? So phobia of the heights. So the psychologist would put you the headset and then run and customize the platform to put you whether in a lift, in an elevator with glass or not, higher or lower, okay? And it will adapt the treatment based on your reaction, okay?
And Tania Sagaste, why are you here then again?
Why? So as I said, I joined Psious 2 years ago when Psious raised the Series A here, and previously I was on the BC side, the dark side. So what I think that I help Psious with is to put the vision of what an investor needs and aims to. So, well, I will get deeper later, but...
I'm sure. And let's be for the third person in the panel. Yes, Laurent Arens, yes, from Sabadell BStartup, so you're playing home, let's say.
Exactly. Well, good morning, everyone. I am Laurent Arens from the investment team in BStartup. And what we do in Bank Sabadell with startups. Bank Sabadell have an initiative called BStartup, where we support the whole ecosystem here in Spain. And well, I am in the investment team where we have two different investment vehicles. A first investment vehicle to invest in pre-seed, seed, and early stage startups, where we invest an average ticket of 100K per company. We are sector agnostic, and we also invest in companies like this one in medtech. For example, in biotech, in medical devices, e-health, and in vitro diagnosis. And we also invest in clean tech with BStartup Green in mobility, smart cities, and circular economy. We have also another investment vehicle called Sabadell Venture Capital, where we invest in pre-Series A to Series A in equity and venture debt. Here we invest tickets between 200K to 1 million euros per company, and we can carry out also follow-ons with a maximum investment of 2 million euros per company. And well, nowadays we have more than 70 companies in our portfolio, and we are really active in investment.
Okay, Laurent, you have showed how much money has BStartup for all the startups, but let's start with the icebreaker. It's very easy here. So what has to have a startup, in your opinion, to be investable according to your experience with all the startups you have been managing?
Well, from my point of view, there are three key factors when we analyze a startup. The first one is that your solution solves a real pain in the market, and your product don't solve only a nice to have for your customers. This is for me the first one. The second one is that you are operating in a huge market, a global market, and in growing rates, with growing rates. And the third one, and probably the most important, is your team. When we invest in a project, we invest in products, we invest in huge market, but the most important is that you have a real good team with sometimes experience in the sector that you are operating. You have a good background in studies and in your career. And also, you are able to create a relationship of trust with your investors, because when we are investing in this stage, in early stage, probably your product is not ready to sell to the international countries, but you have to try to create this relationship of trust with all of the investors.
Tania, what can you say? So you have been in the VC side, so probably you agree with this point of view, but how do you feel from the other side, from the startup side?
So yeah, I agree with him, and I think that it's very different the stage of the company when. At which point is it to require more? I mean, yeah, you have to have like a huge market and a great product, but the key part is attracting talent, is the team. So if you have the right team and the right people, you can do whatever. And that's what I thought when I was in the VC side. But now that I am in the startup, that's the key. I mean, you can have a smaller market, but if you have the right team, you will pivot or try other things, and you will succeed. So, for me, that part it's
interesting. And Anna, how could you approach the investor, trying to explain that you needed the money for growing globally, because you had an awesome team, because you had a right product market fit? How was that?
Well, I think that when you are a company raising money, there are a lot of things you need to take into account. Of course, they invest in you as a team, but there are other things which make it very difficult to raise money. I mean, is your product market fit right? Is it the right timing? I've been doing neurotech for the last 20 years, and now it's an explosion. And it's not because Elon Musk is in neurotech. It's because now it's like the market has waken up. So it's not always I mean, sometimes having an awesome team is not enough.
So the fashion, what's wearing the VC in this year is also important. So this is the year of the Neuroelectrics, or this is the year of whatever.
Well, I think that there are times in which markets mature and you have been working hard and you're in the right moment at the right time, right? And then meeting investors is like dating. It's like when you go to a disco, right? And you're dating a girl or a guy.
We're boomers, so we went to discos to.
I know. Sorry.
So for all the Tinder users, this is new for you.
So it is really hard to raise money because I think it's like dating. So sometimes there are investors that want to invest in you, but you don't want them as investors. So, you have to be careful because those people that you're bringing into your company, they're going to stay with you forever and they may kill you or help you. So I think I've said no a lot of times to investors as well. Because, if they are not aligned, if they are not what you want, you should really say no. And that's why, for example, in my company, we bootstrap, we had revenues, and I had the freedom. I knew I wasn't going to die if I would say no. And that gave me so much power to really choose the right investor. One thing I would say I didn't do so right, and you should do, is you should really carefully investigate investors. So when an investor says no, it's not because they don't like you. It's because the fund is not aligned with you. And I think that I should have done my homework better in terms of doing a deep dive, investor per investor, what is their portfolio, what stage the fund is, who are the partners, before going and talking to them. Because if you do that, you'll save a lot of closing doors. So I think it was a very hard process for me, especially in the US, in Boston, but I learned a lot. And at the end, I think I got the right fit. I love my investors, I love my board. But remember, I got 100 no's, and I myself said no to a lot of people. So, just persevere and try to get some cash, so that you don't die in the process.
Interesting. And Tania, about the experience, when you said that you went into Psious when they raised the money, but the process was long. You were waiting for that, or they had the money and then hired you, or they had to build a bigger team. How was that?
So it was really fast. So it was, when you are in the universe and all the planets align, it was that point. So no, they had already raised the money, and it was at that time that I was starting to think about moving to the other side, to the startup, because I always wanted to do it. And I felt that it was that time, and they were struggling a little bit to looking for a COO position. And it was like, okay, so my profile.
Well, it's the best fit. If you must deal,
it was really fast.
No, but the point is if you must deal with VCs or business angels or money people, let's say, you need probably a money person coming from the industry to make this easier, or not really.
Yeah, I think I did it. So when I joined Psious, one of the first things I did was create a data warehouse to automatize all the metrics and everything, just to have all the KPIs and start analyzing what was, all the ratios you will know, the funnels, everything, just to have vision about what to do and what to not to do, and put strategy there. So I brought, I think, a lot of data-driven vision to the company, strategy vision, and I would say also operational vision. So I want to automatize everything.
But you mentioned something that I think that's interesting for everybody: the do's and the don'ts to be done. No? She has mentioned also about not choosing the first money coming, or even having more information about why yes or why not in the answers of the VCs. What can you add, or what can you explain to these people?
So in our case, I always say that we have a great board, but it's a tough board, and that's because we are a digital health company, and we have like a site which is a software as a service with really lots of KPIs, and everyone knows, and the investor everything. But we have the other part also coming from health. So we have all the certifications and all the
clinical validation
and everything, and so it's really. In our board we have like 50 and 50. 50 of them are like they have lots of expertise with SaaS
and the referee for the fights that.
And it's very difficult to align them. Okay, so it's okay. So we have money, but we cannot spend everything there and there. No, we have to. But I think that's very valuable because that's what it's tough, but it was what gives value to the company. Trying to align those needs or strategies. One coming from the SaaS and grow in MRR, and the other so no, we have to
medical trials,
develop other conditions and the market and what and.
Interesting. And Logan, what can you tell us about what they shouldn't do if they approach you or somebody like you?
Yes.
No personal issues with you.
Personal. Raise money, it's really time-consuming, so it's important to make contacts before you are looking for a round. For example, you can contact some investors looking their portfolio, their investment thesis, and start with newsletter or sending some KPIs reporting to these investors. And then when you are looking for the round, it's important to prepare all the documentation required for a venture capital fund. Like, for example, obviously your investor deck, your business plan, your KPIs monthly in Excel, and your cap table, your legal documentation. You can put all this documentation in a cloud, for example, and if a venture capital is interested in your project, you can share this cloud with this investor to try to make this period shorter than possible, because when you have your cash is your cash. You have probably a runway of 5 months, and if you don't close the round in 5 months, you can pay your.
How long can be around in months?
It depends. You can close a round in 1 week. It's not.
Who? Tell me one.
No, normally 6 months, probably 4 or 6 months is the average time for to close a round.
Interesting. And about the money, your history is going to Boston to raise money. So why Boston? Why going outside? Why going abroad? There is no money in Spain or even in Europe for health tech, for the digital health, even I would say.
Well, I think there is money in Europe. I think that the reason why we went to Boston is we already had business there. We were selling in the US. So our first motivation to scale up in Boston is that we already had a market. We had paying customers that were coming from all over the US. So first, it was a business decision. Second, we spent 2 years going every month, 1 week, before we decided to move to Boston. So it wasn't a crazy, let's go and explore the United States. We grew our market, we grew advisors in Harvard, we got to know the ecosystem. We opened the office in 2014, sent somebody from Barcelona, and then in 2015, the founders, we moved. But it was a 2-year process. We spent 2 summers there. And then once we were there, once we were in close contact with MIT, with Boston Children's, with Harvard, we understood we wanted to do clinical trials, and we needed money for those trials. And because we were already in the US and the trials were going to happen in the US, it made sense to raise money in the US. So we didn't go to the US because there was no money here. It made business sense to go to the US.
But do you think that if any Spanish, even / European digital health company could any of them raise money outside of Europe with the American mentality? So I'm thinking in how nice looks this Silicon Valley stories that you go with a PowerPoint and then you raise an insane amount of money with nothing on your pockets, and this is crazy because as Laurent has been telling, VCs here are absolutely strict, and you must follow all the steps, and you must be very clear. So it's the American dream exists, or is a fake?
I think that the American dream, and Aline knows it very well, I think it's pretty fake. So it is true that it's a land of opportunity, but competition is like you've never seen before. You have all these people coming from Asia, from India, from Japan, you have people from the ecosystem, people coming out of MIT, Harvard, that they are born in the ecosystem. So coming from Europe into those ecosystems, trying to break in and getting money, it's so difficult. So I think that the American dream is overrated. I think it's actually much harder than it looks. So I think that you can do it, but it takes time. And I think that it takes a lot of connections that you have to build there. But if you have connections, if you break the market, if you get the ecosystem, I think there is much more money than in Europe. So, I think that a strategy we did in Neuroelectrics to bootstrap in Europe, to make ourselves strong in Europe, and then scale up into the US is not that bad. So, because at least you have more, muscle and financial muscle to move to the US.
And even metrics to explain and to show to potential investors or collaborators or whatever, no? So probably. And the Psious money, I don't remember, there is any investor. Yes, that you can have investors from abroad, out of Spain.
Yeah,
no?
yeah. We have a long cap table. and actually, Psious, one of our first investors was a VC from Silicon Valley, from the US. But now, the current investors are mainly from here. But yes, we are growing a lot in the States, and we have those KPIs, and we are following very, 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 very strictly. And we are setting up a subsidiary there, and our focus is.
So you're doing like her. You should call her more often.
Currently is our first market, the US. So we are growing there a lot, but we are a global company. We have customers in more than 70 countries. So.
And the investors really understand that. So knowing that probably. I don't know. The idea, my point is, if you are American or if you're European, probably you feel better just struggling to go to your space because you have the idea to control it more. Is about that?
No, I disagree because investors, what they want is they are very keen to look the KPIs and see and our KPIs from the United States market are pretty much better because the prices there are higher and there are like other things and the traction and I would say the product market fit is very good in the States. So if you look at our KPIs, they are telling that. So they are telling
they are aligned, just
there.
sell, and that's doesn't matter where.
They want us to grow and sell, but we are kind of moving a little bit to go to a segment to more to hospitals perhaps. Than not, because we are now our customer base is lots of psychologists, and then we are moving to a higher segment.
Interesting. And Laurent, how do you feel about investing in this space of healthcare, digital health, that is so different in terms? She's talking a lot about KPIs, about how strict are the investors on following the KPIs they have in mind, and all we know that is in our industry is slower, is regulated, is over-regulated sometimes even that, and this makes it slower the operation of the healthcare startup. So how is that? How could you adapt as an investor to that?
Yes, totally agree. When we analyze, for example, a SaaS model or a marketplace and e-commerce, it's really easy because the KPIs are common, like the MRR, the revenue, the CAC, the lifetime value. But when we are analyzing a biotech or an e-health, a medical device, it's really different because the regulation, for example, is really different and make more time to to arrive to the market, and sometimes a big pharma buy the company before you arrive to the market. So probably you never have these KPIs or the business KPIs. So what we analyze is the product, the trends in the pharma industry. For example, Maiques is investing in Neuroelectrics, so we can invest in neuro. Like for example, we invest in brain last year, and they raised 40 million euros, 14 millions last year. And well, my background is in economics, so I can analyze the
Well, you analyze
sector.
figures, so okay, you know the
Exactly.
figure. If the figure is good, let's go on and all about that. And the what's next. So you both have been in an A series. So will you go in the future for a B series to raise more money, or is the risk of diluting you of the dilution is not so attractive for?
Well, I think we raised Series A last year. I think in 2 years we'll do our Series B, because this will get us to FDA approval in epilepsy, but we are on a depression trial that will need funding, also for Alzheimer's. And then after Series B, there are different scenarios. When your US money raise is either you do a crossover IPO, which is something that it depends on the strength of the data. You can do an exit if you have a good medical device company or pharma company that is going to acquire you. Or now it's this SPACs trend, right? I'm seeing a lot of my colleagues in the US last week. Pear Therapeutics, which is a digital company of a friend of mine, just is going to do a SPAC for 1.6 billion or more. So I think that there's this new SPAC, which I don't know still if it's a bubble or it's going to, but I know there are a lot of digital health companies going through that route. So I keep my eyes open. My investors, luckily, are very experienced in the fundraising process, so I also trust their advice. But I think that as an entrepreneur, you need to keep your eyes open to whatever is going to allow your company to grow and to scale. So I don't have a fixed plan on whether going IPO or selling the company, or I just want the money to grow the company, and I'll take whatever best option is in the market.
Well, no, I absolutely agree with you about, well, let's see the opportunities, and when Psious in the same page, probably.
Yeah, I agree totally with Anna. I mean, we are focusing on growing, on giving value to the company, and then we will see. I mean, yeah, if you will ask me now, I would say, yeah, probably we will go for a Series B, but we don't have like a roadmap. Okay, so in 6 months.
But your investors know that you said, and for the next year there is a Series B, you know?
Yeah, we keep talking about that. But I agree also with Anna. I mean, our investors, they can also, advise you very well. So.
Good, and I guess that you only put the money, or you as a, in some way BStartup is also works like a VC firm. So you open doors, you choose the people, and you take them to another stage. No, so there is one point or another when you go out, when you leave the companies, or you just stay invested and grow your capital.
Well, as investor, when we invest in a company, we want to sell our participation as soon as possible, but
with the highest valuation possible.
With the highest valuation as possible. Normally, it makes a lot of time. If you invest in pre-seed or seed stage, normally it makes more than 8 years to sell your participation. Maybe you can sell a part of your participation in a Series A or Series B, and you. And then you sell the other part in the IPO, or when the company is acquired by a big pharma.
Interesting. So you just help them. And let's talk about help, and let's try to open this opportunity to share the knowledge with all of you. So, I will try to make. If you have any question for them.
Don't be shy. Come on. You only have us here once.
You have 10 minutes to think about new things to ask. Okay. So anybody? First question. You.
Go for it.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for. Nice. Yeah, I'm Mazia from the EMAS Tech startup in the digital health. Actually, we are aligned somehow with your activities, but competence is different way. So I have one question because also we are new in this field, and our question is, to enter to the market of the health is quite complicated and take a long time to obtain all the certification and to introduce the product to the market. As you had already experience from the prototype initial till the first product that you introduce to the market, what will be your suggestion and what would be the fastest way that you could give us some advice regarding to that?
Well, this is consultancy more than...
Yeah, I let also Tania and Laurent explain. I mean, there is no shortcut in healthcare, right? So if you have something that is going to help patients, you need to go through the hassle of the regulatory process. But one thing I would do if I was you, because the road is so long, is just rely on public grants. I mean, don't dilute yourself only raising capital, but just go to Europe, right? Get R&D money, which there's an incredible amount of R&D money. We are still, as a company, getting tons of money from Europe to do research. So I think that through that, you can sustain your company without diluting yourselves so much, but there is no shortcut to the regulatory burden of a healthcare company.
Okay, any other question? Well, ladies first.
Hello, thank you very much to all of you for this amazing speech. I wanted to, I wanted to know, as you were working on medical device, on mental health issues, we have passed a terrible pandemic, how you see that professionals of mental health are focused on where do you feel that would be the focus of startups and company on mental health on the next year? What is the most properly approach on mental health diseases the next years? How you feel it?
Well, in my opinion, I think that there's a trend of telemedicine, okay, telehealth. In our case, I think it was a month that it took us to release an app for a smartphone, because, I mean, we need a headset for the virtual reality, and that was, everybody was locked down at their homes. They didn't have access to the headset, and that was a problem for us. So we focused in first training our mental health professionals, and then we released a smartphone app for the patients to have, I mean, with a smartphone, and some of us, I mean, I'm quite a freak, but there's many people that have like cardboard headsets at home so that they could use their smartphones. And we released this smartphone app so that the mental health professionals could treat remotely the patients. And they started to do that. And now we are seeing a trend, and that's mainly in the US. It's something about 40 or 45% of our sessions now, they are doing remotely. So there's a trend that it's, I think that at least in the US, not so much in other parts of the world, but in the US it is there. I think that telehealth will be a change. And I personally think that digital therapeutics here will also play a role, because there's a race on mental health, and the experts are saying that there will be like a wave, okay? And digital therapeutics is something about automation. So when there's a lack of professionals treating there, you can rely on digital therapeutics, no? That there's automations there.
Okay, next question. Come here because there's a camera.
Yes. Hi, Mom. I'm here for now. So you were talking about timing, which I think it's essential when you're doing on a startup and you're developing an idea. But also you have this other wave of knowledge that tells you that if you test something and you don't have an immediate answer, you have to pivot and change. So how can we find that balance of saying, okay, I have these signs that maybe they are not buying the idea, but I know this will work in the future. How did you do it? How do you hold on so much time, believing in your idea, and didn't say like, oh, I'm going to pivot, I'm going to do now virtual reality, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And yesterday I was talking to the king of Spain, and I told him, His Majesty, 10 years ago, I was in front of you with a band with 4 electrodes, and I thought it was awesome. And now I look back and it's like, how did you dare? How did you dare to go on stage with that? So this is what we call the shitty minimum viable product, right? But we were brave to go in front of the king with a shitty product, right? And to launch it into the market. And you know what? Because we launched the shitty product into the market, we got feedback from the market. So the market started to say, oh, it's pretty awesome, but we need more electrodes. Oh, it's great, but why don't you bring stimulation on top of brain monitoring? So yesterday I showed to the king the new device, and he was like, shoot, you have advanced a lot. I said, yeah. So, the answer is if you have something that is not perfect, but you think it has potential, just go and launch it. And that's called pivoting, but it's really called get the market to give you feedback on your product. And that's how we grew the technology to the point that we have it today, which is pretty awesome. So it wasn't ourselves in the lab or in the company, it was through the feedback of these initial products. And there's always early adopters. There's always cowboys that will buy your product, no matter how shitty it is, and will give you feedback. And that's gold. And these consumers are your investors. They're paying your company, they're paying your growth, they're giving you feedback. So it's an awesome way to start your company.
Yeah, come on.
Sorry, Frederic, I would like to add because I was not there, but I've heard lots of stories in Psious. So in the first days, these headsets, they didn't exist. The virtual reality was like space. And what they did is they had a 3D printer, and they were like putting the alarm clock at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m., going there and print another glasses, and with glue they were like buying lens, and they were, building themselves these prototypes and selling them. And we have paying customers from 5 years ago.
5 years, so it's another thing for the people of the money, so this is slow. Huh?
Hello, I'm the CEO of Qualut, Audalmas, and thank you for your advice. It was outstanding, amazing. I really take notes of everything. But I have something specifically that, Anna, it was really interesting for us, the bootstrapping. You were talking about that first you create business KPIs, and then you went to ask for money. How do you know which is the right moment once you have been bootstrapping for some time? How do you know which is the right moment for negotiation with the venture capitals or whatever?
Yeah, so I think this I tell my American friends. Bootstrapping is something the Americans don't know so well to do. And Barcelonians and Europeans, we excel because there is no money. So, you just te buscas la vida,
no? There is another way.
There's no other way. But I think that not everybody can bootstrap. Just think of life sciences and molecules. If you have a molecule, there is no bootstrapping, right? It's just like you have to raise money. But if you have something that you can sell and you can grow, we reinvested every margin we had into the company. And the moment you decide to raise money is when you say, I want to do therapy. I want to do a clinical trial on epilepsy. And somebody comes back from Boston Children's and tells you, it's going to cost you $10 million. And then you're like, shoot, it's like, I need money now, right? So it comes to a point where your strategy and your vision requires an amount of money that you cannot get from grants or from the margin on your sales. And that's where you have to face, if I want to do therapy, I need to raise money. And then you open the capital to external investors. So the business decisions should guide you on when is the right moment to raise money.
Amazing. Any other question? Anybody? No? No, really, seriously? Well, I have a question about this point. So, but, and this, some kind of, something that you have said about that is, but you realized, you knew that you had to make clinical trials, and that is a crazy cost, because this is an industry about that. So the point is why you didn't start it earlier, no? So you started your view just developing this. I love the word. I will use it in the future. The shitty minimum viable product, and then. No, shitty. I really love the word. I love the word. I mean, it's shitty because come on, where are you coming with that? But the point is, you knew that in one point or another you would need millions for growing because there is no way. So there is a step that you must. There is a river that you must cross, and this is the clinical validation with top-notch specialists. And why didn't you thought about that earlier?
I mean, I think that it's true that when we launched the product, the reaction of the market was so positive. I mean, if the market would have say, your shitty product doesn't get anywhere, probably we'll have to raise money, right? But the market response was amazing. I remember I was sitting in Barcelona in my couch and there were orders coming from Malaysia, Korea, Japan, countries I've never been in, right? So the market started to grow in a matter we didn't expect it, and that gave us a very healthy margin. So I didn't have the motivation to go and raise money when the market was responding. So I think that we didn't go before because the business was doing fine.
But probably if you had investors, they would be focused in the business plan, and the plan would have said, you need the CE mark, class 2 or 3A in your case probably, and this is this amount of money, and this is for next September we start the trial. So there is a 2-year, 3-year plan that you need in this industry. So I really find amazing. I mean, it's amazing going for the money, picking the money instead of going for the regulatory part. That is probably one of the things that Psious have. No, this scientist asking for validation, regulation, trials, and the money side doing the Ana Maiques style. Okay, let's pick the money and let's see what happens and let's see how much we get. No? So,
well, in our case, I think that here it's a pity that Xavi is not here, the CEO, but he always explained, no? And when I was an investor, I was telling him like, wow, you are like the first digital health startup that has revenues and growing revenues, and because there were lots of the startups that I was analyzing that everything is going pilots and that kind of things. And no, what they did is they went to the customer, they asked the needs, they built this shitty minimum viable product, and they improved it. And then it comes, but in the meantime, they were working with these psychologists, and they were our customers, but they were like doing these studies for us with our. I mean, with our
for free.
Site, for free. No, they were paying the subscription in some cases. So it was like wow, no, I was like amazed, and I mean that's for in the first part. Then you have like to professionalize a little bit, no, and start like okay, so we want to do this study to cover this condition, to cover that geographical space, no.
But as in the money side, let's say that there is. Everybody's worried about how secure is the investment they make. So insecurities, validation, even I don't know how much will cost this 10 million. I guess that's not 10 million, but this clinical validation and all this path to have a medical device.
Like there, I mean, clinical trial, regulatory. I mean, all the
it's in red, no. So how can you really go over that?
In our part, we are digital health. In digital health, the regulatory is like, woof, a little bit foggy, no? You know, like, and so you have like shortcuts sometimes. If you want to do these claims, you have shortcuts. So perhaps you can do a shortcut and start commercializing and in parallel building these building these clinical trials that you would do claims, that you would can regulate and then commercialize that part, and that's what we are
balancing.
doing.
Okay. And something that you would recommend to any of these guys willing to do things with Banco Sabadell, just directly?
No, I think that the Spanish market is a good market to try your product. The wages are lower than other countries. Here we have money for pre-seed, seed, and early stage phases. In Serie A also, but when you are looking for a Serie B or C, you have to put a flag outside your borders in other countries, and looking for money in UK, for example, or in the United States, where the venture capital market deals are huge. And that's my advice.
Okay, and do you have any advice for the guys trying to raise money here? Sell a lot?
I mean, I think that it's very hard, and I have to tell you that I'm a tough person, and it has been really devastating, especially in the US. I mean, there were times where people told me to my face, with that accent, you will not raise money, which was like, are you fucking kidding me? Then there was time where I was told, put a man to raise money for you, you're a woman, CEO, you will never succeed. So, I mean, it was tough, but I never gave up. I mean, I grew stronger. I say, oh yes, I'm going to show you. So just bear in mind that if you have a good team, a good product, just persevere, don't give a shit about what people tell you, and just keep on your path. And also learn, if it doesn't work, it's okay. I mean, if we fail, I made a lot of mistakes. I had companies that failed. You only see now the success, but I had a lot of failures on the way, right? But just persevere and follow your dream, because people will give you always a hard time.
Well, great. Absolutely agree.
Isn't it, Frederic?
Absolutely agree with that. So, hey, just go for it, go for it, go for it. So I can explain that somebody from the money side told me once I was very resilient. I had no idea what resilient was. I was to the dictionary and, come on, soy un pesado. Okay, so it's about that. It's being, just going for it. And there is a moment, and you said it in the beginning, and really I think remarkable, that it is the moment for your startup. So maybe we tend to be too early in the space that in the future big companies will be. So we must be patient, we must be resilient, and we must go for it. And well, things can happen. And if it doesn't work, just pivot and let's try it in another way. No. So, what do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, I think that all the successful entrepreneurs or founders that I've met, they are like very perseverant people. They don't give up. And they are very resilient, yeah. Because I mean, one day you're here, the other there. So, and I would also add, try to not to be alone. I've met lots of founders, and if you're a solo founder, I mean, you're one. It's much hard. I mean, it's harder. If you can find a co-founder, then perhaps
it's a good advice.
Yeah, because the health. I mean,
your mental health. She was mentioning mental health.
And not only the mental. I mean, yeah. And I would add, so attract people, attract talent, and don't be alone.
Excellent. It's a nice way to finish. Don't be alone is the best thing we can do instead of COVID, instead of everything. So let's not try to be alone. So thank you for attending this panel, and enjoy the journey here in the 4 years from now. Thank you.